I'm Misty. I'm a certified cat behavior consultant and fear-free trainer. In this video, I'm going to break down the traditional method for cat introductions and talk about what's good and what can be improved. Let me start by saying I'm not hating on the traditional method. I'm not saying it's bad or that it never works. What I am saying is that it shouldn't automatically be our go-to for every introduction because every situation is different. The method that's commonly recommended online, what I call the traditional method, includes 3 phases. The first phase consists of safe rooms, scent exchange, site swapping, and feeding on opposite sides of the door. The next phase includes seeing each other on opposite sides of the pet gate. Then we go to supervised visits without a barrier, graduating to unsupervised time. The overarching idea is based on counter conditioning, pairing something potentially scary, an unfamiliar cat, with something good, food, to create a positive association. Counter conditioning is a powerful training technique, but it needs to be done carefully and thoughtfully. Otherwise, it can backfire and instead create a negative association, making introductions much more difficult. Let's break it down step by step. Safe rooms. First, it's recommended to set up a safe room for each cat. The room should have everything the cat needs: litter box, scratchers, resting and hiding areas, beds, water, a feeding station, toys, and enrichment items. You get the idea. Spend time in the room with each cat. The goal is for each cat to be comfortable in their own safe room and to want to spend time in there. You want the room to be the cat's favorite place. If the resident cat or cats are used to having free roam throughout the house, choose a room they don't access very often to be the safe room for the new cat, and close it off a week or 2 before you bring the new cat home. That way, the new cat isn't associated with a loss of territory for the resident cat. Keep in mind you might be using the safe rooms to keep the cats separated for several months, and you want the cats to be able to go back to their safe rooms at any time. A bathroom or a tent might work as a temporary space if you're introducing 2 kittens to each other. For adult cats, they each need a designated space. Your resident cats likely already have chosen a space that's their core territory. Hopefully, they have a safe place they can retreat to where you can close the door. Multiple new cats can share a safe room only if they're a bonded social group and if you have enough resources spread out throughout the room. That means the number of cats plus 1, ideally. You can probably tell from my descriptions that the safe room setup is going to look different depending on the home layout and how many cats are involved. When we adopted our 5th cat, her safe room was a tent in our living room. I'm not saying that's ideal, but that the safe room setup can be adapted to different situations. This is something a professional cat behavior consultant can help you figure out before you bring home the new cat. Then we have scent exchange. It's a good idea to let the cats get to know each other one sense at a time because it's less overwhelming. It's often recommended to rub a cloth on each cat's cheeks and place it in the other cat's territory. Some people even say to rub the same cloth on both cats to try to mix their scents together. Please don't do this. It's very threatening. Remember, you're trying to build a positive association. Forcing them to encounter the other cat's scent is not going to put them in a friendly mood. You can let it happen naturally. The cats will smell each other because they share the same air, and they'll hear each other in the home, just like free-roaming cats would in the wild. When we try to force it, it's perceived as threatening and makes the cats feel unsafe. How would you feel if someone shoved another person's shirt under your nose? That's invasive. As the cats get comfortable with you, they'll rub against your arms and legs. As you walk between rooms, they'll encounter each other's scent. Scratchers are one way that cats communicate without seeing each other. They have pheromones in their paw pads and they leave those scent marks behind when they're scratching. You can take advantage of this by swapping scratchers between the cat's areas. I like to use cardboard scratchers if the cats will use them because they're easy to move, and if the cats happen to have a negative reaction, you can get rid of the cardboard easily. You can try using Feel Away, a synthetic pheromone spray, on the scratchers if you know the cats respond positively to it. Or use catnip.
Some cats may react defensively the first time they encounter another cat's scent. If you're unsure of how your cat will react, for the first few days, it's a good idea to change your clothes and wash your hands in between visiting the cats. Start by swapping scratchers and see how it goes. I like the idea of swapping scratchers rather than using a towel that the other cat's been laying on or leaving your jacket in the cat's room, because some cats will pee on material that gets left on the floor when they're stressed out.
If one of the cats shows signs of stress at this stage, stop. Don't move to the next step if the cats are reactive to each other's scent. You'll need to go slower. If your cats have a big reaction at this stage, you may have a long road ahead of you if you want to proceed with the introduction. It's a good idea to find a cat behavior professional to help guide you through the process. If you get impatient and try to take shortcuts, it will end up taking longer because you'll have to go back and fix it after the cats have a negative encounter. Trust me on this, none of my clients have said, I probably could have figured it out on my own. They all say they wish they had asked for help sooner. Site swapping. Site swapping is where you have the cats trade places or take turns being in a common neutral area. That way, the new cat gets used to the rest of the house, and the cats encounter each other's scent in the common areas. What do I think about site swapping? This is one of those it depends kind of situations. I know, it's annoying. Some things to consider. Eventually, the new cat will need to get used to the rest of the house. True. But once they experience that freedom, they may not be content to go back into the safe room. Also, it depends on how you facilitate the swapping. If you're picking up the cats or putting them in carriers and it's causing more stress, then it's counterproductive. If the way you move them around risks the cats having a face-to-face encounter before they're ready to see each other, then don't do it. If the new cat isn't content in the safe room, you need to spend more time with them in there and add enrichment opportunities. It needs to be a place they really want to hang out. I can't stress this enough. It's essential that the cat not experience the safe room as a timeout, because cats don't understand punishment. They just get frustrated. When the cats are having supervised visits and it's time to separate them, you want the new cat to go into their safe room willingly. You don't want it to be a struggle. If the new cat is crying and scratching at the door, they're really frustrated. That might upset the resident cat. Plus, you're going to feel guilty for putting them in there. Introductions are stressful enough without adding a side of guilt. Now, you might be sitting here thinking, I wish I'd known that before I let the new cat out of their safe room. If the new cat is eager to get out of their safe room and you've already let them explore the house, you have some options. One is to make the safe room more awesome for the new cat. If it has taken on a negative association, you can choose a new safe room. Do training and fun enrichment activities in there. Try to maintain a consistent schedule. Having a regular schedule makes the cat's world more predictable, which goes a long way toward reducing stress. Another option is if the resident cat already prefers to spend more time in their safe room, not that they're becoming withdrawn in response to the new cat's presence, but that they already like to spend most of their time in there. They can choose to go in their room and you can close the door for them. Now, I'm not recommending that we impose restrictions on the resident cat. After all, they were there first. We don't want the resident cat to lose anything to the new cat. That's not going to be a good foundation for a friendship. But if it's already normal for them to be in their room, then there's nothing wrong with allowing them to go there when they want some peace and quiet. The key is to see how they respond when you close the door. Try it where you sit with them in the room, and try it when you leave the room. See how they respond. Do they visibly relax, let out a big sigh of relief, and settle down to take a nap? Or do they meow pitifully and start scratching at the door? If it's the first one, then I consider it okay to have the resident cat closed off in their room for part of the day, because it's their choice. But don't leave them alone in the room for hours without giving them some attention and enrichment activities. If being closed in a room makes them distressed, you can train them to get used to having the door closed for brief periods, but don't try to keep them shut in the room for long. As you can see, every cat introduction is going to look different depending on the individual cats and the home setup. Also, depending on the people's schedule, site swapping may or may not be practical or sustainable. The door ritual. This is where we feed the cats their meals on opposite sides of the door, gradually moving the food dishes closer and closer together. The idea is to create a positive association. Food is good, and this other cat is here, so they must be good too. I'm not going to lie, sometimes it works, but it can also have the opposite effect, adding pressure to an already stressful situation. Cats are solo hunters. They hunt small prey that isn't big enough to share. That means they naturally eat alone. It's stressful for them to eat near other cats, so having them get closer and closer to a new cat who they see as an intruder has the potential to make things worse. Besides, having the cats get closer to each other is the wrong goal. We want peaceful coexistence. It's fine if the cats need more personal space. A better option is to let them play on either side of the door. It can be on opposite sides of the room, if that's most comfortable, or under the door. Play puts them in a more positive emotional state. This is especially important for adult cats who are more likely to be on guard when they're eating. Here are some examples of what this can look like.
Yep, that's a winner. A quick note to say that paws under the door may or may not be playful. In this example, we see a cat who's hyperfixated on the door. He knows there's another cat on the other side. If he was pawing under the door right now, I would say that isn't play. If you're not sure whether the cats are playfully playing footsie or they're trying to get at each other, you can use a draft blocker under the door so that they don't frustrate each other.
Visual exposure with a barrier. This is where you let the cats see each other briefly on either side of a barrier, usually a tall pet gate. You can use a blanket to play peekaboo or raise the curtain gradually. This I agree with. It's great. We just need to remember our goal is not about proximity, but peaceful coexistence. Cats need their personal space. They need to learn how to walk away from each other. It's not just about being safe, but having a feeling of security. Both are important. If the cats don't feel safe, they won't be interested in making new friends. It's important to give the cats something to do at this stage. Play, training games, maybe food puzzles with snacks, not a major meal. Otherwise, they will be totally focused on each other. Staring is not a good thing. It's very threatening. If the cats can't break their gaze, that means they can't let their guard down. Watch out for a twitching tail, too. That's a sign of escalating tension. Start off on opposite sides of the room. If the cats choose to approach the gate, allow them to say hi briefly, only if they have positive or neutral body language. Teach the cats to redirect from each other. This is where pattern games are particularly useful. You can also toss treats away from the gate if it doesn't get them too excited. Keep your mannerisms relaxed and neutral. This point was brought to my attention by a colleague and mentor, Dr. Marcy Koski of Feline Behavior Solutions. We sometimes use a warning tone of voice when we're talking to our pets. You know the one. Fluffy, be nice. Charlie, don't you jump over that gate. While our pets don't understand most of our words, they do pick up on our tone. If you use a warning tone of voice when they're around the other cat, they won't know what's happening, only that you are uncertain. If you're uncertain, they'll think there's a reason to be afraid. Now, I don't know about you, but if I heard ominous music every time I saw a certain person, it wouldn't make me want to be their friend. Gradually increase the amount of time the cats can see each other with supervision until you're confident you can remove the barrier. This is important. Don't move forward until you see positive signs. The absence of red flags is not good enough. Supervised visits without the barrier, graduating to unsupervised visits. This is where we take the gate down for short supervised visits and gradually work up to longer times they're together. Keep sessions short. It's better to end on a positive note than have to go back a step because of a negative interaction. Be ready to distract or redirect if things go sideways. When you trust that the cats can be together in the same room without trying to hurt each other, you can leave them alone for brief periods, like going to use the bathroom, and gradually build duration, always going at the pace of the most cautious animal, which could be the human. We can always put the cats back in their safe rooms as needed. It's not uncommon for clients to continue to separate their cats overnight for some time. Don't try to pick up the cats to separate them. If they're stressed, you're going to get scratched. Instead, call them to go in opposite directions. They should want to go in their safe rooms. That's why it's so important to have a redirecting behavior trained ahead of time. In summary, the traditional method for introducing cats includes safe rooms, scent exchange, site swapping, and feeding on opposite sides of the door, then seeing each other on opposite sides of a pet gate, then supervised visits, and finally unsupervised time. Safe rooms are essential. The safe room setup can look different depending on the situation. Scent exchange doesn't need to be a separate step. It's better to let it happen naturally while the cats are still separated. Site swapping may or may not be helpful. It depends on the individual cats and what's practical for the people. The door ritual should be replaced. Feeding cats meals on opposite sides of the door sometimes works, but it can backfire and make things worse. We're better off using play. Visual exposure with a barrier is an important part of the introduction process. Adding another gate to create a neutral buffer zone can make a big difference in helping cats feel less stressed. For this part, the process we follow really depends on the individual cats. Some fly through this stage, while others need it broken down into baby steps. Every situation is different, and a cat behavior professional can help you determine what will work best for you and your cats. Supervised visits graduating to unsupervised time. This is what we're aiming for. The cats may or may not become friends. Ultimately, we just want them to be able to be in the same room without trying to hurt each other. In my next video, I dive deeper into why feeding cats on opposite sides of a door or baby gate isn't the best way to go, and how we can do better. I'll see you in part 2.